Football is back. How excited are you? As we record this, we're on the eve of football being back. As this comes out, it's probably Thursday with opening day. But guys, I mean, we're all just the biggest football fans in the world. This every year, I think I'm not going to get excited, and then every year I get excited because I just can't help it. I'm like a little kid. How pumped are you guys?
I'll let the guests. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm jacked. I mean, football's back. It's the best feeling in the world. It's like Christmas every single week, you know. And this season, like, it's got a different feel to it. Last year was kind of like, man, I was kind of dreading like going into the season, and I was like, oh, what's going to happen this year? But this year, I'm so excited. Every single storyline that's out there. You know, Chiefs three-peat is obviously at the top of the board, but then you got all these other teams. You got the young quarterbacks. NFC West might be up for grabs. Who knows? Like, it's gonna be a really fun season. I'm stoked. Lofa.
Yeah, amen, brother. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Forget Christmas. This is Christmas to all the football fans, and just Labor Day weekend. Hope you guys all had, and everybody watching had a great holiday weekend. I sat on the couch and watched football nonstop. And I mean, I don't know what I'm more excited about, college with the NIL and, you know, now 12, the expanded playoffs, the conference realignment. It was just so much going on. It was like sensory overload, but could not be more excited. And then now, you know, NFL, you know, nothing like the real thing.
Well, welcome to the All Day Podcast, everybody. Lofa and I are here previewing the Seahawks, the Broncos, Week 1 matchup. Patrick Chiotti from Bleav in Broncos is here. Check out the hat. Bleav spelled our way, Bleav, the podcast network. Check out Bleav in Broncos. But guys, I mean, that's where I'm going to start, Patrick, because you have to introduce us to these Broncos. These are not the Broncos they were even a few years ago when we played you guys. Week 1, everything has changed there. Everything has changed here. Who are these Broncos that are coming to town?
Yeah, I mean, you said it, completely different team. I was at that game a couple years ago. Russell Wilson's return to Seattle. My eardrums are still ringing. It's a little tough. That was an interesting time to be a Broncos fan. And these last couple of years have been an interesting time to be a Broncos fan. With Sean Payton coming in last year, kind of changing up some things and really putting his thumbprint across the organization. This is a completely different organization, a completely different team from top to bottom. There's still some guys around from that team a couple years ago, but it feels like Sean has kind of picked the guys that were more inclusive to the culture that he was trying to instill into this team and into this roster. Obviously, the big one, Russell Wilson, he's gone. That was an interesting shift because the thought was, you know, Sean Payton's going to come in and he's going to get the best out of Russ. Well, that's kind of what he did. He got what he could out of Russell Wilson, and it just didn't work. And it's okay at the end of the day to say, hey, this isn't working for me. I want things to be run a certain way. And I think, you know, we can all agree that Sean is one of those guys who he's going to want things run his way.
Yeah.
With the offense in particular.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
You got Bo Nix now, the rookie.
Yeah.
We'll get there. But why didn't it work with Russell Wilson? Because Lofa and I sit here. I mean, the numbers, you put the numbers on paper in black and white, they're not bad.
Yeah, you look at the box score and you say, oh man, this guy, you know, he's thrown for 20 some touchdowns and you know, now he's not a ton of interceptions, but really what it came down to was the efficiency of the offense, taking sacks that are really unnecessary. I mean, when you're taking, you know, 40 plus sacks, which he did often in Seattle, which was really tough to watch sometimes. You have to look at why he was putting himself into those situations. Getting out of a clean pocket, not making your right reads, the rhythm just seemed off. Drew Brees had a great quote about this. I think it was during the draft or the Super Bowl. It was one of those media runs where he said he looked at this offense and he said, this is completely unrecognizable from what we were running in New Orleans. There's no rhythm, no timing to it. And that's a big part of it. You have to be able to make your reads go 1, 2, 3 and either get the ball out or get out of the pocket. Just running himself into sacks a lot. There were unnecessary turnovers, and it just kind of all came to a head. There were some rumors that came out in, a couple of athletic articles about, play calls being changed and really not being able to expand the playbook throughout the season. If you go back and you watch early on, those first 4 games, he's moving the ball pretty well. He's hitting the underneaths. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's operating the offense very well. But then as the season went on, it just kind of felt like they were running a lot of the same concepts and not really getting creative with anything. And that's where, as an offensive play caller, you're limited. And they don't like to be limited. Russ is Mr. Unlimited, but the offense was extremely limited in that time. So it was just one of those situations where the offensive coach wanted something else. He went out and he found a guy who could do it.
Yeah.
Well, how much of that had to do with injuries? Now, they play a big role in every team, right? I mean, we went through it. I'm just speaking to Gino. Like, we lost both our tackles, and we essentially lost our run game with 2 dynamic running backs. And you guys had share of bad luck with injuries. So, did that play a factor at all?
I think to an extent. Russ was kind of even in the season with Hackett, Russ was kind of dealing with some stuff, and maybe that was a part of his performance in that season. But man, he came back and he played much better in that second season under Sean Payton, but it still just wasn't enough. Even with the injuries that happened, it was still like, you got to be able to operate the offense. Going back and looking at, sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Going back and looking at a lot of those games, there were just a lot of missed opportunities. One that comes into mind particularly was the Houston game. That was a big game in the middle of a winning streak that could have easily put them on the path to being a playoff team, and just a lot of missed opportunities. You have Jerry Jeudy screaming down the field wide open, his hands up. That's a big miss on a crucial down. The last play of the game, he has a guy wide open. He missed a shift call, which Sean Payton addressed in the postgame. He missed a shift call that would have been very important, and then just kind of lofted a ball up to a undrafted rookie tight end who, you're banking on that guy to make a play. That's kind of tough. That's a tough ask in that situation. So it's just a lot of things that bundled up, and they made the tough decision. You got to eat a lot of cap in order to get this guy off the team. And maybe it puts the team in an awkward position with money and finances, but good teams will find a way. And I'm kind of hopeful to see what happens.
That's what I was going to ask you. How is Broncos fans feeling with him out and now Bo Nix in? And that's how we'll segue into the rookie here. But, I mean, how's Bronco Nation feeling about this experiment and it being over?
Broncos country is feeling cautiously optimistic is the way I would put it. No, you're fine. That's like a little dig that, we're very sensitive for some reason about Broncos Nation and Broncos country.
Well, I wasn't going to say let's ride. I was going to
that
we got a shirt we can send you.
That hurts. No, please send it. I think cautiously optimistic would be the best way to describe it. Obviously, Bo Nix comes in, 61 starts in college football, the most for now until Dylan Gabriel maybe breaks that. But that's a lot of football to be played. That's a lot of mental reps, a lot of on-field reps, and I think when you're talking about Sean Payton as that offensive, hard stone, got to have it his way, I think Bo Nix fits what he's looking for. Will he be the one to run it efficiently? Time will tell. But I think he understands what he's getting. He's getting a guy who's played a ton of snaps, a guy who can come in and understand the offense, who can get the plays out in the huddle. We all know how complicated his offensive system is. It's a very, very long-worded play calls. And if Bo Nix can handle that, I think he can handle a lot. I'm a little scared of week one, not going to lie. But I'm cautiously optimistic is where I'd put it.
Tough ask for a rookie coming on the road, playing in
Big
Seattle. You mentioned the noise. 12s are going to be lathered up. I mean, we got the new coaching regime here, the new defense. He's going to have his hands full. But Broncos country is super excited about Bo Nix. You guys, how fast were you guys ready to name this guy the starter?
It depends on who you ask. Honestly, I think there were some people who were very bought into this whole like, oh, he's a check down merchant. He benefited from Oregon's offensive system and all the other superlatives that came with him. He's the 6th quarterback in the draft. Whatever. But I think when it comes to like scouting and it comes to looking at the type of players that you want to build your team around, you have to look for certain traits. And whatever Sean Payton saw in him, he said, he told George Payton, other people are seeing this too. It's not just us. The guy's got a big brain. He can make the right plays. He knows how to use his athleticism. And I think Sean not naming him the starter up until a couple weeks ago, that was kind of him just doing right by the team. I think they knew what they had, and they knew he was going to be the starter week 1. But I think they just needed to see the product out on the field during the preseason. He did a fantastic job running the offense in the preseason. Yeah, he missed a couple reads. That's to be expected. He's a rookie. A 24-year-old rookie, still a rookie.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, I'm just going to start calling him Dr. Bo Nix. He's been in school for so long. Not your normal rookie, right? He spent 6 years, 61 starts. What was the signature win, though? Because, when I look at a quarterback leaving college, I want to know that he's built for the moment, right? Regular season, a great defense will get you there. But when we get to the playoffs, doesn't matter how old you are in terms of, years experience. I need to know that you're going to shine in the biggest moments. So, 61 wins or starts, what's the signature win you can point to?
Man, that's a great question. And it's very valid. Having watched both of those Washington games last year, their only 2 losses of the season, both very big moments. And Bo made a lot of big moments in those games. There's other factors that go into it. Defense giving up a really bad ball to Rome Odunze at the end of the game. That's a tough one. But I think the signature win, and this is going to be a hot take, but brace yourselves. Go back and look at his first start in college football. True freshman.
Where was it? What school?
True.
Auburn?
7 years ago.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Somewhere in the South.
He's a true freshman making his first start at Auburn, a legacy player. His dad played there. There's all this history. And you're having to go up against a top 10 team in the Oregon Ducks, led by future Los Angeles Charger Justin Herbert. Yeah. And you come back and you beat them in that game on a neutral zone or a neutral site.
Yeah.
That's a huge moment. And I think what that showed was the ability to overcome pressure. And that's what he's going to have to face this week. You've got a defensive-minded head coach who is probably one of the best defensive minds in the game right now, who can throw all sorts of different mixes. Look at what he did to C.J. Stroud last year, week 1. That's a rookie quarterback coming in. He had him in shambles for the majority of the game. 25 pressures and 5 sacks. That's tough. That's a lot of pressure. So when you talk about signature wins, I think that first start is where you have to begin. And then you have to look at that whole body of work and say, man, he's played a lot of tough teams over the years. He's been in some tough situations. How did he overcome? And
we should have probably pointed out that Patrick's a duck too, by the way, before we went on the air or after the air, but his duckness is showing. This love of Bo Nix. I mean, now he's a Bronco. I mean, come on now.
To be fair, when Bo Nix was in the transfer portal, I told one of my buddies, I said, if Bo Nix comes to Oregon, I'm done. I'm over it. I didn't want him. He shut me. I didn't, because I'd watched him at Auburn, and like, yeah, he's played pretty well here and there, but it's so sporadic. And
so just like you said, he peaked in his first game, is what you're saying.
Hey, I think there's something to be said about the difference in coaching philosophies and you know what a change of scenery can do for somebody. And yeah, but I mean, Bo shut me up. He really made me eat some crow these last 2 years at Oregon. Played really, really well against some tough opponents. Those Washington games were instant classics. But the arm strength is there. The athleticism is there. His ability to read a defense is there. It's just, can he put it all together at this level?
Man, you're right about those Washington games. I watch the highlight of that field goal going through the uprights all the time. It's classic. I love put it on in the morning. It's my alarm clock, actually. Watch that thing on repeat, man. Yeah, I can watch those Washington Oregon games from last year, no problem. Well, so I mean, you know, Broncos fans are looking for a franchise quarterback, some stability here. They had Russ, but, you know, we talked about that. They haven't really had one since Peyton Manning, I'd say, right? I mean, yeah. So is he the guy? Is he going to be your franchise quarterback for a while?
It's tough to say. I want to say yes. My heart is saying yes. But like I said, cautiously optimistic. We don't want to push all the chips in, you know, on the first hand. But I think with this being like the highest quarterback taken by the organization ever, and the highest quarterback taken by Sean Payton ever, I think that there's certain things that are aligning. Like he doesn't do this. Like he could have, allegedly he wanted to do it with Patrick Mahomes, you know, hindsight's 2020, but allegedly he wanted to do this with Patrick Mahomes and he missed out by like a couple of picks, right?
Yeah.
That would have been obviously a home run hit. Is Bo Nix a home run hit? Don't know.
Yeah.
Just don't know.
To be determined, right?
Well, yeah, TBD.
I mean, he's got weapons. He's got people to throw the ball to.
Yeah.
Speaking of throw, Lofa, segue. Speaking of throw, go with the throw. It's a live read for one of our sponsors. It's Delta, everybody. Delta Airlines, the only airline that we fly. You can earn 1 mile for every Seahawks passing yard this season with Delta 12 status. Sign up, start earning miles today. Open to legal residents of Washington, must be 18 or older. It's 12status.com. Patrick, can you believe that? Every yard the Seahawks throw for,
that's crazy.
The Delta Sky Mile. What a promotion. Huh?
Yeah.
But weapons though. Javonte Williams in the backfield. I mean, looking to have a breakout season. And then of course you got the receivers, Sutton, Mims. There's talent on offense there. He's got places to go with the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is a really talented group. A lot of people are kind of undervaluing maybe how talented this group is, but it's also about how Sean Payton uses them. Cortland Sutton is showing to be completely back from his former self. I mean, he had a fantastic year last year. We point to Russell Wilson's touchdown numbers, and I don't think it's so much as Russell Wilson was helping out Cortland Sutton. It was more of Cortland Sutton helping out Russell Wilson, because some of those throws were very, very dangerous. We all know he likes to live on the edge. So
you're under it.
Yeah, a little bit. But Cortland Sutton, he's going to be that number one target. Marvin Mims is going to be that Z in this offense. How they're going to use him, kind of a mystery still. We didn't really see him in the preseason all that much, but we did kind of see Tim Patrick, the former Bronco, get used in that realm. There's also Josh Reynolds, who came over from Detroit. Big receiver, moves the sticks really well. Good contested catch guy. 7th round pick Devon Vele out of Utah. Don't count him out. He is also an older rookie, 26 years old. But everybody is calling him Tim Patrick 2.0, another big body guy. He can block in the run game. Really good contested catch guy as well. Could we see Greg Dulcich also make a comeback as the Broncos pass catching tight end? I think there's a big possibility there. Bo Nix loved throwing to his tight ends at Oregon. And Sean kind of talked about how they do want to take some of the stuff that he did really well at Oregon and put it into their offense here in Denver. You mentioned Javonte Williams. We can't do this show without talking about Jaleel McLaughlin. That dude is a firework. And he is looking to have an expanded role. He had a lot of touches last year, 78 touches last year in the run game. Good pass catcher out of the backfield. Again, look for those swing routes, look for the bubble routes. Those are going to be big time money makers. Anything they can do to put the ball in your playmakers' hands and make Bo's life easier, they're going to do.
That's what I'm wondering. How are they using both of them?
It's going to be, you can look for McLaughlin in the screen game. Look for him on those, they'll like motion.
More like, is he like a third down back?
Yeah, like Jaleel will kind of be that third down. Think of like Darren Sproles in New Orleans, that kind of role. That's where he's going to play. Marvin Mims, you can look for him to kind of be the Brandon Cooks. If you're looking for like a 1-to-1, he's going to be the Brandon Cooks of that offense. He'll stretch the field.
Take the top off, yeah.
Exactly. Take the top off the defense, but also just get the ball in his hands. Smoke screens, bubble screens, swings, anything that they can do to just get the ball in his hands quick. He'll be that guy.
What about Javonte? Is he healthy? Because look, like when this guy was healthy, he's a problem. And just the style of run, dog. Like literally, he's just a monster. And so, but if he's healthy, then it's a problem because a quarterback's best friend is a run game and a defense. And we'll get to the defense after this. But
you said it perfectly. That's his best friend. And what Sean and the Broncos have been really emphasizing over these last couple of years is building up the offensive line to be dominant in the run game. Last year, they kind of went more zone than gap, which is kind of veering away from what Sean did in New Orleans with those teams. He did a lot of gap running during the preseason, and that was so good to see. Get back to power football. Javonte Williams is not a zone guy. Like he is not that like stretch outside zone or, inside zone. No, he is power running.
He's the hammer. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm excited to see Javonte get back to it. All the looks that we saw in the preseason, honestly, they were getting great push. Javonte was breaking off big runs. So if he can just continue this into the season, yes, Lofa, to answer your question, he is finally healthy. Last year, I feel like he was kind of a shell of himself. Still got 200 carries, though.
It's tough, man, coming off that ACL, man.
Yeah, it is. And like for a guy like him who was kind of rushed back into it, you really want to see him take the time. And I feel like he's finally back. If he gets 200 touches this year, I'm hoping that we can average somewhere around 3.6, 3.7 yards per carry. Last year is around 3.2. So let's get that up a little bit. But I'm excited. I know McDonald's going to throw some stuff.
Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Exactly.
That's where I'm going. I mean, Lofa, we got the new defense, though. We got the new coaching staff. I mean, how does McDonald come at this game defensively, you think? I mean, against a rookie, but against these weapons that they got, because these are fantasy weapons. I mean, don't see some of these fantasy players out here for the Broncos scoring points. But go ahead.
I think, in a sense, and, if you know what a trap game is, where it just has all the makings of, this is an easy win. Just chalk it up. Go ahead and put the W by, that on the schedule. That's the feeling I get out of this because, look, Sean Payton, he knows how to lead a team to wins and utilize the best of what he has. And so the matchup I'm really more intrigued about is the back and forth between Sean Payton, the chess match, and Mike McDonald. Yeah. It's going to be incredible to watch just, how they set up each play and each piece. But defense will always come down to two things, stop the run and then, so make them one-dimensional and then don't give up the big play. And just what I've been thoroughly impressed with this preseason is the ability, the clean tackling, the assignment-based defense, nobody out of position, very few missed tackles, hard hits, pressure with just four guys. Like, there might be 7-8 around the line of scrimmage, 3 yards, but then only, we send in only 3 or 4, right? It's just, it's a lot to process for a quarterback. And really, even all the receivers, the skill players, they have to do that in fractions of a second and adjust accordingly. So that's a chess match I'm looking for. And yeah, anytime you can get a rookie quarterback, you want to leave an impression, right? And with big hits, pressures, and the crowd noise is definitely going to help.
Well, if I'm listening to Patrick Chiotti, our guest here, from Bleav in Broncos on the Bleav Podcast Network, we got to stop the run, which we know we got to do. Yeah. We had trouble doing that last year, but new coaching staff, new players. I mean, Murphy, come on now, middle of that defensive line, Murphy,
another dog.
I mean, just stopping and then getting after Bo Nix. That's the thing, Lofa. If we can stop the run first, because then that opens up. You're getting after a rookie. The pass rush is getting there. And then I think the defense is teeing off. And I have the defense scoring some points in this game, our defense. So hopefully that can happen.
Wouldn't shock me at all. Mike Macdonald, from what I watched in the preseason, and again, you don't show your cards in the preseason all that much. But he did a really good job of disguising his looks, especially on first down. Those are going to be crucial downs. And Sean is pretty notorious for wanting to run in those early down situations. So he loaded the box a ton during the preseason, a lot of 8-man boxes, but still being able to get pressure. Like you said, Lofa, like in those situations where opponents passed against them, their opponents were not throwing the ball very well on first down. So in those situations, it's going to be tough for Bo Nix to really process what's in front of him. He, like I said, he's seen a lot of football, and he's talked about this as well. But this is a whole different beast. The NFL is a whole different game, and Mike Macdonald is one of the best defensive minds out there right now. So it's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be a tough game.
Yeah, well, this D-line, I'm Lofa. This is the storyline for me, and just where I'm focusing pretty much all game.
Oh, we're stacked, and the only problem we had last year, like the starters look great. And we lost Chenna, and then unfortunately we lost him again right now. And just the leader that he is, from not just assignment but mentality, like he's a beast. And so we lost a little bit of toughness last year, but for the most part we held up great all first halves. As soon as we got tired, we didn't have the depth. It was too young, behind those starters. And now we go out and get Murphy, who I don't know if you've seen any of this guy. Just splitting double teams. His get off is insane on the snap of the ball. One of the first to move almost always. And a very instinctual guy, kind of like the guy we had, Michael Bennett, who could just jump things. He sees gap trap, like you're saying, a power or someone pull. He'll scrape over the top and make the tackle. Very few have the ability to do that. Even fewer understand what they're seeing and make it happen, process it that quickly. So just your O-line that you beefed up, they're in for a long day, brother.
Hey, Quinn Miners, but one of my battles to watch for this game, I've got a few. One of my big battles though is Byron Murphy and Quinn Miners, because if Bo wasn't the pick, if quarterback wasn't the pick at 12, I was praying that they got Byron Murphy. This dude is a monster, so powerful, so not the biggest dude in the world by measurement standard, under 300, but just plays like he's the strongest dude in the world. And he's going to be a wrecking ball. And then you match him up with Quinn Miners, the dude who can push trees. This is going to be a battle. It's the clash of the Titans, man. It's going to be awesome to watch.
Who gets the first sack, Lofa?
Ooh, first sack.
If it's not Draymond.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, we got a friend, former.
There's so many names we haven't even met yet. I mean, I barely mentioned Leonard Williams. I mean, you just mentioned Draymond. Boye is there. I mean,
I'm gonna go with Old Faithful for a first sack. Okay. I think Jaron Reed is just gonna rip through the B gap. Either a double team or just overpower somebody. And he's a guy that provides consistent pressure. And he does the dirty work. So unfortunately, he doesn't always get a one-on-one, but he manufactures pressure, which at least getting in the quarterback's pocket, getting back there in the pocket is just so disruptive. And so I'm excited to see, what he can do this year with Macdonald and all the schemes.
Well, and especially I was going to say the secondary going against a rookie quarterback too, because I mean, the Spoon jerseys are flying off the shelves. I don't know. I think it's the number one selling jersey preseason right now for Seahawks fans. But the secondary, I mean, people are whispering LOB, next LOB, young LOB, perhaps future LOB.
Maybe
this is the start of that run, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't want to put that kind of pressure on them.
That's a big moniker to hold up.
People are whispering, dark corners of the internet, Lofa.
I was going to say, speaking of, you brought up Leonard Williams, and obviously you're talking about Jarrell Reed. One of my biggest worries in this game, from the Broncos standpoint, is the starting center position. New starting center, Lloyd Cushenberry is in Tennessee. So Luke Wattenberg is officially the starting center, former Washington Husky. But I have my doubts sometimes. And it's not that, I feel like he can't play. It's sometimes I feel like there are times when there's a more powerful defender across from him. He can get pushed around a little bit. So that is something that I've worried about quite a bit going into this game. How will he match up against a Leonard Williams? How will he match up against Jarrell Reed? How will he match up against a guy like Byron Murphy? I've seen him in the past against guys like Chris Jones. It's not good. It's not good at all. But Chris Jones can make it look bad.
Chris Jones is pretty damn good, man.
He is. But that's a concern that I have, because center is such an integral part of the offensive line. That's the dude calling, making the calls up front. And for a quarterback, that's the dude that you got to rely on sometimes. So
let's talk about your secondary a little bit, because there's one guy back there that just got paid this morning. I woke up to just my phone blowing up with tweets about this stuff. Pat Surtain, number 2, he gets paid like number 1, is the highest paid DB in the league. And what are the terms of this contract?
$77 million guaranteed, lower APY, which is fantastic. That's the benefits of having the richest ownership in the NFL. Is you can negotiate these deals to where you can just throw a bunch of guaranteed money at a guy and keep that cap hit lower, right? So this is a great deal. We kind of knew this deal was going to get done. We were hoping it was going to get done before the draft. It didn't, unfortunately, but other guys have gotten paid throughout the league, which is a good thing. It helps set the market, and now Pat has reset it. It's very well deserved. Dude is a blue chip prospect. He is absolutely one of one, arguably the best cornerback in the league, and for a good reason. He's got size, he's got length, he's got discipline, plays with great technique, and he's a good matchup for a guy like DK Metcalf. And we've seen that before, and it's always a fun matchup.
Yeah,
so,
is he going to follow him everywhere he goes?
I think you can probably bank on that. Cornerback 2 is a really sticky situation in Denver right now. You've got Riley Moss as the presumed starter, played sparingly last year, mostly on special teams, played okay during the preseason. Not great, but he did fine. Do I trust him going against a guy like DK Metcalf? Absolutely not. No, that is a mismatch every single day. Yeah. So that's why it's nice to have the highest paid cornerback in the league in Patrick Surtain. The secondary is also missing some other guys. It has gone over its own makeover. Justin Simmons no longer a Bronco. That one hurt quite a bit. Yeah, best safety in the league, arguably.
Yeah. No, you could stats to back it up.
Yeah. He was a great locker room guy, just came down to money. But yeah, PJ Locke goes into the starting role. They signed Brandon Jones away from Miami.
Brandon Jones making his debut.
Yeah, and we haven't seen him at all during the preseason. Had a fine camp from everything that we've heard, and he's been okay. But those are some big questions.
I hear a big day for JSN and Tyler Lockett and some of the other guys. Then maybe Bobo getting involved, Lofa. I mean, come on. If you follow DK everywhere, then the other guys will be open.
Well, don't sleep on Jaquan McMillan. That dude in the slot. I mean, whether it's Lockett in the slot or Smith and Jigma in the slot, which that's another thing that I'm pretty excited to see. Ryan Grubb coming over from Washington, Alabama. this is going to be a really fun year for the Seahawks offensively. So I'm kind of excited to see how they match up with the Broncos secondary. It's going to be a lot of layered concepts. They're going to have to be really, really strict in their assignments. So I'm the slot position I'm not so worried about, because J-Max, like, he's making his name as one of the better young slot defenders in the league. Cornerback 2, safety, those are some holes that I'm kind of worried about. But PJ Locke's a really strong player, good range, solid tackler, can play near the line of scrimmage. Brandon Jones did most of his work around the line of scrimmage. So it'll be interesting to see how Vance Joseph kind of comes out. You guys were mentioning Alex Singleton and Cody Barton before the game. Singleton is poised for a big year. Had 100+ tackles for the second straight season.
Oh, I know.
How do you feel about him, Lofa? I want to ask you a question. How do you feel about Alex Singleton?
Oh, little known fact. When I was coaching for the Hawks in 2015, I got one undrafted free agent to sign. They're like, hey, you can get one guy. I looked at every eligible prospect, and I found a kid out of Montana State, and his name was Alex Singleton. And I saw all this coming. Everything that's happened, I predicted it, because that's what I saw on tape. Yeah. He is a killer, and you can never have enough of those. Absolute savage, 3-down linebacker, just, whether it's the blitz, tackles for loss, instinctually just off the charts, and just a tough kid, Yeah. And I couldn't believe Philly let him get out of there, right? Yeah. And then just when you guys signed him, I was like, okay, like they know something over there, because kid's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's always around the ball. Always around the ball, man. Last year kind of struggled with some missed tackles, but hey, when you're having to go and make plays because your D line can't stop anything.
But see, that was something like when he was getting drafted or entering the draft, there were a lot of missed tackles, but they were disruptive misses, if you know what I'm saying. So there were times where he shot in the backfield, and okay, he got off a block and he made the running back stutter, or he made contact, but the guy got away. And then somebody else cleaned it up for a tackle for loss. And, they get all the credit. And it goes down as a missed tackle for him. So I just took it all, in consideration when I was like watching. I was like, look, you could clean that stuff up, but you can't instill the will to go, overpower somebody or bring the nastiness, right? Yes. Like if that kid doesn't have that, no coach can bring that out of a kid. They either have it or they don't. And but eyes, hands, feet, leverage, we can work all that every day, and we will. But that is what I saw when I watched his film. I was like, damn, like this kid, he belongs in Division I for whatever reason. It didn't happen. And then, I know he belongs in this league, and eventually as a starter. I saw this. I saw this many moons ago, man. He's a special player.
Yeah. Where else does the pass rush come from?
Oh, man. Baron Browning and Jonathan Cooper, two guys that are really poised to have big years. Baron's finally back and healthy. Really excited to see what he can do. This is an elite level athlete. Really good bend around the corner. When he came back from his injury last season, his first game was against the Chiefs, and he was creating pressure all over the place. He was a big reason why Patrick Mahomes struggled in that game. Jonathan Cooper, a 7th-round pick. He has just been consistent throughout his short career. He's going to be able to create some pressure, but there's also those interior guys. Zach Allen had a fantastic year last year. He was so good in the pass rush and really wasn't given the credit for it. And now he's going in this year. He is hungry as ever. DJ Jones, he's a pocket pusher kind of guy. But then they also have a pretty decent rotation with Nick Bonito, who has shown improvement every season. And this rookie that they have, I want you guys to note this. If he plays a lot in this game, you're going to see it pop up. Jonah Ellis, from the rookie from Utah. His dad played for Denver towards the end of his career. Yeah. This dude can play. I don't know how he fell so far. I think it was injuries or something like that. But this dude is a monster. Go turn on some of his preseason tape. He's a lot of fun to watch. Those are going to be the guys who are creating the most pressure.
You've hit every name as we've been talking that I have down, except for that one. I didn't have him. I have Benito. I didn't have him.
Yeah, dude. Jonah Ellis is this kid's going to be a freak. I promise you. Cooper is up for a contract, and Baron Browning's also up for a contract. So one of those two guys is going to go. I think they found their replacement.
Wow. What keeps you up at night when you think about the Seahawks offense, though? Because we haven't even talked about Geno. We haven't touched on K9.
Geno.
Yeah.
Talked about tight ends.
Yeah, man. Geno's so interesting, dude. Like this is a guy who, like, touted as like a top quarterback prospect and spends the majority of his career as a backup, and then he just comes out of nowhere and he's just been playing really solid football for these last few years. And I think that's the big thing that's keeping me up at night is him paired with Ryan Grubbs. This new offensive scheme is going to be so different from anything that Seahawks fans have seen. And dude, I'm up here in the Pacific Northwest. I have Seahawks fans in my ear every year. So this is going to be completely different. That run game is nasty. You've got some really great running backs down there. Zach Charbonnet was one of my favorite guys coming out a couple of years ago. And then, Kenneth Walker, obviously just mean running styles. This is kind of like the bread and butter of Seahawks football. Is we're going to run through your face over and over and over again and bring you down into the box and over and over and over. And then we're going to go over the top. I'm excited to see DK Metcalf always. I think that he has really transformed himself into a good receiver, but we got to stop with the boneheaded penalties. We got to get out of your head, man.
Yeah. We need some consistency there.
You're a beast.
Yeah.
Like you are a beast, but Jackson Smith-Njigba, really great receiver, like total package. Loved seeing him come around towards the end last year. And I think he's really poised to have a big year. You've got the vet Tyler Lockett in the room. Like this is going to be a fun year for Seahawks fans offensively. I know last year was kind of up and down. I feel like this is going to be a big year for them.
Yeah. So much Huskies and Ducks in this game.
Yeah.
Coordinators, players, coaches.
Love
Denver, Seattle, classic matchup. Two old division foes from the AFC days.
Like, look at Shaw's gear.
Well, it's gonna look like.
Well, I don't know if you heard. Have you heard? Have you heard?
Throwbacks.
Okay. You've heard.
I'm mad about it. Why the hell can't we get our white throwbacks for this game? It only seems right.
I feel like they should have. The league should have done, put that out there. Like, hey, both of you guys are going throwbacks just for nostalgia, right?
Yeah. Just let it happen. It's fine. What's another couple, $1,000 in jerseys?
Oh, well, they'll make it in sales, right? They'll be fine. They'll be fine.
What are they worried about?
What what is success this year as a Broncos fan? The Vegas has them at like 5.5 wins, the over under for the season. I mean, that is low. That feels low for any team. That just feels almost disrespectful for anyone when you see that in black and white there. But I mean, Patrick, what is success for this team this year?
Look, I'm not going to be one of these Broncos fans that's like, listen, we're going 15-1, 16-1. We're going. No, that's not right. I look at the schedule and I see a really, really tough schedule.
Yeah.
And then you add in rookie quarterback, you add in all these other factors. It's success for me this year is 9 to 10 wins. You end up, you fight like hell in that division because we know what the Chiefs are. We don't know what the Chargers are yet. It's kind of not looking that great. But, and we kind of have an idea of what the Raiders are. So if you can come away this year with going over 500 in the division and then ending up with 10 wins, I think that is success. Operate the offense efficiently, end up a top 12, top 10 offense in terms of like offensive efficiency and production. And please, for the love of God, Vance Joseph, get the defense back to somewhere in the top 20 because last year was ridiculous.
Right.
It was terrible.
Right.
And I think that's going to happen. I think the more time that you spend in a scheme and the more time that you're able to have guys around and just build up, everybody that we've heard from, like from big media, they talk about the Broncos and then they went to Broncos camp and then they came out saying, yeah, this isn't the same team that we thought it was. This is a different team. James Palmer, shout out to him. He said, this feels like when Sean Payton was in New Orleans. Like that's the competitive nature that they're running with. And you kind of saw it in the preseason. You kind of saw the energy trickle over. Like, even though Bo Nix threw a touchdown where he was clearly over the line of scrimmage, Sean Payton sprinting 10 yards down the field to dap him up. Like it's hilarious. Like this is a completely different team than what we've seen a couple of years ago. So yeah, success is just get better, keep building that up. New Orleans wasn't built again in a year, right? It took a couple years, but it's feeling like it's getting there. Last year was the first one. Now we just got to stack it.
Lofa, you know me, man. I get nervous, right? Like I'm so confident that I'll start talking to someone from the other team and I get nervous. It's like you're putting us on upset alert over here.
He said it. He said it. Trap game.
Yeah. It's got the makings and the feeling of like just, okay, it's too good to be true. At home, throwbacks, start of the season, everybody's excited. Rookie quarterback. Like, what else do you want, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm a little on edge
in
about.
some of their mouths from what we did to them a few years ago, opening week.
Right.
That was a bit.
I'll never forgive Nathaniel Hackett for burning 40 seconds of time off the clock.
Oh my God, the time?
I'll never forget. I'm standing up in the grandstands, just watching the clock go. And I mean, I coach. I'm sitting there like, time out. I'm looking at Russell Wilson just like standing out on the field. Like, bro, what are you doing? This is not a photo op.
Yeah. Brother, we were there. And all the Broncos fans in the stadium were saying timeout. Like they almost started a chant. And
it was so bad.
The wildest thing to me was like in the presser after, both Russ and the coach Hackett said, well, the line was like the 50 something, which means it was like a 62 yarder. Like, I don't know any kicker that's like, yeah, that's where I want left hash, 62 yards. Yeah. And he's got a great leg. He missed
in Denver.
He had the leg for it. It just missed left.
In Denver, he's got the leg for it. Yeah. And he showed us he could barely hit it there. I think that was a monumentous moment for Bronco. It was very humbling for Broncos fans because we did go into that game like, we got your quarterback, it's a new era, and it was not good. So different team.
Are you going to be there, Patrick? Are you going to the game?
Oh man, if my wife wasn't about to go into labor any second, I would.
Excuses.
I know, right? I told her, look,
your first kid.
Yeah, my first. Yeah,
congrats.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you got to be there for the first. After that, you've seen one, you've seen them all.
I told her we were supposed to have it this last weekend, really, and he's still cooking. And I told her if that kid is being born during the Broncos Seahawks game, and Bo Nix somehow goes off, look, we might have to change his name to Bo
Nix Chiotti.
Hey, I'll take it.
What if DK goes over the top of Surtain a couple times? You might have to
that's where I'm going to draw the line.
Kalian Zacharias Chiotti.
I love it.
Hey, well, speaking of going to the game, epicseats.com, everybody. If you need seats for the game, if you have seats for the game, but like our friend Patrick here, maybe something's going on in your life and you can't make it, you need to sell those seats. You can also do that with epicseats.com. Mention this here podcast to receive some sort of deal over there. They love us. I'm sure they'll hook you up. It's epicseats.com. Two Husky guys, by the way, starting that company. Local Seattle guys doing it well. Epicseats.com, everybody. The Seahawks are 5.5 to 6 point favorites, depending on where you look. How do you guys see this game shaping up? Let's get some score predictions and some predictions for the afternoon
Lofa, you
What's
go
going to
first.
happen when the dust settles?
Well, usually
Lofa?
the guests have honors, but if you want me to take it, I'll take it.
Take it. I gotta hear yours.
Still some unknowns, right, with Grubb's offense. And Sam Howell looked great, but we haven't seen, Geno operating it. He had one drive, 4 or 5. It was absolutely beautiful. Ended with a nice touchdown to DK. But, I gotta feel like more points are going to be put up than we have in the past. And so we get that run game. Like, it just looked like there were holes open to run through for a change. And so that's what McIntosh was our, MVP of the preseason, but now you're going to have K9 and Charbs in there. So I am going to go with the prediction. You're not going to like this, Pat. 27 to 17 Hawks.
Oh,
Okay.
That was pretty close to where I was going to go. I like to keep my predictions within like 3 points, just because there's so much room for.
It's the NFL after all.
Yeah, it is the NFL. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say I'm going to take your 27 points. I'm going to give that to Seattle. But what I'm going to say is there's a good chance that we could see a Bo Nix 2-minute drill to end this game. And we've seen him do this in Seattle a couple times over the last few years, and hasn't always gone his way. But I think this changes the tide. I'm going to say 31-27 Broncos. Take week one in Seattle. I'm going to say it.
A rookie putting up 31 on Mike McDonald.
Absolutely not. There's no way.
Listen,
I love the
have
bold.
My doubts.
Hey, bold prediction, doubts. Cotton. I like it.
This offense was really efficient in the preseason, and great if preseason, right?
Yeah.
But okay. You can take those things and you can do them well over and over and over again, and just put up points. They punted 10 times during the preseason. That's pretty nuts.
Well, before Brett goes, I'll tell you this. Bo is 60 starts between his last time it worked out for him. As French referenced earlier.
Hey, that's he's done a lot between then.
Maybe it could happen. Brett, what you got, bro?
Well, any given Sunday, right? And to be honest, Patrick, with some of the storylines that are going into this game, all the Ducks, dogs stuff, Bo Nix coming back to Seattle, he wants redemption, I'm sure, and all these kinds of things. Like, there are some other storylines other than sort of the X's and O's that have me a bit nervous, just sort of in the sort of, football ether of everything. Sometimes things just don't go your way for whatever reason. So, and as a Seahawk fan, I'm just nervous in general all the time by nature. So it's just sort of how it goes. My score prediction for this game, I think I see opening week is always low scoring. I feel like a lot of our starters barely even played in the preseason, so they'll be getting their feet under them a little bit. I think it's going to be a slower start than everybody thinks. I think the overall over-under on this game, total points, I think is like 42 or something, but I think it's much below that, or going to be below that. Give me the Seahawks 19 and Denver 13.
Oh,
weird. He always goes with weird scores.
Hey, that's
weird scores. The Seahawks have had like 12-6 final scores before, and just strange, 9 to what was that opening game against the Rams a few years ago? It was like 9-6 final score.
Even like Philly, like 2 games in a row that one year we played them regular season, and then it was like 19-12 or something, exactly the same, something crazy.
But my prediction now at the end of the game, though, because I agree with Patrick, I think Bo Nix might have a 2-minute drill there at the end. As you notice, I have it as a 6-point game, but I think it's going the other way there. As the clock runs out, I think, Spoon or somebody picking it off and then, sliding down and then send Geno back in there for victory formation or something like that.
I respect it.
I got it. If you guys have predictions on the score, by the way, our sponsor, Simply Seattle, which is where Lofa and I got these fine hats.
Yes.
They sponsor a score prediction challenge for our listeners, Patrick, where you guys got to find the post on Instagram. We'll post it on our Instagram, but underneath the post, you guys comment what you think the final score of the game will be, whether it's a Seahawks victory, Broncos victory, whatever. And if you nail the prediction, you get a gift card from Simply Seattle. Of course, there's one winner. So if multiple people nail the prediction, we'll put them in the hat, draw one out. If no one nails it, compounding as the weeks go on. So that total just keeps getting higher and higher as the season goes on. Check out Simply Seattle, everybody, and our score prediction. Guys, week one, I want to look around, unless you got some other Seahawks Broncos stuff. I want to look around the league a little bit and get you guys' take on just, the NFL in general. We're all excited as just football fans for this thing to kick off. What are some matchups this weekend, or what are some storylines going into this season that have really got you guys intrigued?
Well, I mean, come on. We got Chiefs-Ravens tomorrow. Ooh, I'm excited. I'm excited for this. I think, like, obviously the big storyline is can the Chiefs three-peat this season? Can they do it? Like, the hardest thing to do in this sport. We'll
have to check Taylor Swift's schedule.
Whoa.
Where she's going to be.
Whoa. I think, like, Chiefs three-peat, and then who's going to win the AFC East? Who? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, because that goes right in line with Aaron Rodgers' return, right? Like, because that's what, class of 05, 19 years ago.
Wow. Has to play the Niners coming out week one.
Oh, yeah, right.
There's
unbelievable.
There's a matchup. There's some storylines right there. I mean, Niners, Lofa, there's some Niners storylines all over the place in our division here with Ayuk, Trent Williams. Seahawks fans are shaking in their boots because the Niners are, powering up and going to be at seemingly full strength. When they hit we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. And, I was, they got Ayuk's deal done, and I was like, all right, maybe he's a little rusty. This is me being optimistic. Maybe he's a little rusty, right, from not doing all the camp or whatever. But Trent Williams is the one that, is most concerning. It's like, God, that guy is a beast. It reminds me of 2008. We were going to play the Bills opening week, and, like, the whole storyline was like, oh, Jason Peters holding out. He's not showing up. And, everybody's like, good, don't show up. And he signed the Tuesday before camp or before the opening season, and he didn't play. But a kid by the name of Marshawn Lynch didn't need him in that game. He ran all over us. Beast mode beast mode on us.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Freddie Jackson.
Oh, shout out to Freddie Jackson.
Right?
God. Dude, they had some dogs.
Wasn't that that was kind of the game where Pete Carroll was like, oh, who's this guy? Get him over here.
No, that was. I mean, maybe he looked back because Pete came into 2010, so that was Holmgren's last year, right? I think it was. It was either Holmgren or Moore a year.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, it was, and it was not pretty. It was. Let's just say that.
Lofa, what was that like having Pete come? Like, Pete coached you at USC, obviously, and then he came to Seattle. What was that like? Was that just It
was cool. It was crazy because we led. I think no one will ever eclipse us in transactions. Brett, remember how many we had that year?
Over 200.
Over 200. So, dude, we were going into games counting on guys to play that I don't even know if they got a playbook that week. They're like, he's here. He's healthy. Passed the physical. All right, just get out there. And then the wildest thing was he brought a different scheme, him and Gus Bradley, than anybody there. Like, I mean, we had so many different base defenses. And, if you have that many, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like,
that's tough to operate.
Well, it's how are you going to get everybody on the same page, And then what I thought he did really well was because we had good players, right? Nobody in the league has just a terrible roster. It's this is the NFL. But the changes in and out every week, and then the phone book playbook that was ever changing, and it was a lot. And I thought we could have finished better than 7-9. We did win a playoff game, with a losing record.
It is shocking.
So even when we lose, we win.
Yeah,
we make history. But it was crazy. But then they went to the I mean, they hit in the draft, every year. That from 2010 to 2013, it was insane. And then they got very simplistic and they said, this is what we do. This is who we are. Now try to beat us. It walks that line of confidence and arrogance.
Right.
But when you're that good and you show up and do it, and now all these other teams were trying to run just cover 3. And it's like, if you don't have the pieces, you got to have the pieces.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was cool to see. It was almost like watching his run at SC all over again, because won the title in year 2 or 3, went right back. So it was crazy, very similar in terms of trajectory and ramp of success.
Awesome.
I'm excited to see this game in Brazil.
Oh, the Packers and
Packers, Eagles.
That's so
Packers,
fun.
Eagles.
Right?
Yeah.
Prime time, Friday night, Packers, Eagles, all the way down in Brazil.
Friday night, yeah,
prime time.
Friday Night Lights, baby.
That's a trip. I mean, that's one that I wish the Seahawks were on, because that would have been a take the show on the road kind of moment.
Yeah, Pat, we went to Germany was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What a great time.
That's all. Germany seems like it seems like a great place to have that NFL culture, since football is kind of big over there. Like, there's a lot of leagues. I have a couple of buddies that played over there, and it seems like a really, really good time.
It's huge over there, and we didn't realize that the Seahawks are like the number 1 team for German fans.
Really?
Seahawks it's just crazy popular, and we realized it as the trip was approaching. But man, when we got over there, the Seahawks fans over there, rap
crazy. The 12s were alive.
Oh, they love it.
They
love it.
Who are some other teams that you guys are pretty excited to see this year? I mean, Houston was big last year.
Yep.
Yeah, you went right to where my heart is Houston is going to be hell to play. With all the weapons they have, the added mix and on offense, just specifically Stephon Diggs. And everybody's like, oh, well, maybe his best years are behind him. No, you give him single coverage, he's going to eat that up all day. And you got Tank Dell, Nico Collins. They have 5 or 6 legit ones over there. And then, Robert Woods, right? It just keeps going. And then I think Noah Brown too, right? It's an embarrassment of riches, right? Yeah. So then you go to the defense, and they were already stacked. Willie Anderson, and then on the other, you add Danielle Hunter. Are you kidding me?
It's ridiculous. They're going to be so fun to watch.
Yeah, that's a fun young team for sure. They come right out of the division battle too.
How quickly D'Amico turned that around is insane.
Nuts. Insane. Yeah, I think there's something to be said for these younger players who, they get out of the league at a pretty young age, and then they just go right into coaching. I mean, a lot of those guys are coaches out on the field already. Having done my show with Chris, he would tell me stories all the time about how he was coached up by guys like Champ Bailey, and then he passed it down to guys, Kayvon Webster, Bradley Roby during that Super Bowl run. And then, they get out of the league and they just go right into coaching, and they see success, and it's so awesome.
I'm interested to see, how Gerard Mayo does. Good friend of mine.
Yeah.
All pro linebacker, first round, and now he's coaching the team he played for. But it's, just to see the progression. Yeah. Cause I think this is 5th or 6th year coaching. He's head coach, much like D'Amico. And then much like our former host here, KJ Wright. Yeah. I promise you, he will be a head coach in a very short time. So it's cool to see Antonio Pierce. I went to a Pro Bowl with him, and dude, just a great football mind. And, I think you see a lot of linebackers, this is what I will give us some credit is because, being in the middle of the defense, what you need and who's the most valuable, around you. And so I think that has to, in the architect of building a powerhouse franchise and just having the pieces, I think that goes a long way in success.
Would you rather have I was going to ask you, would you rather have a defensive minded coach or an offensive minded coach?
I mean, that's a tough question. Because me myself, I'm I help coach offense and then special teams, and that's such a integral part of the game. But like, I feel like a defensive head coach know how to put the pieces together, and you have to be really, really good at teaching technique, and teaching how to read certain things. Like, there's so many mental games that go into coaching at a defensive level, whether it's a secondary guy or a linebacker or even the defensive line. They're just so like a million miles ahead in terms of like processing and reaction. And
you said it. Yep.
Technique. Like, I think of like Luke Kuechly. I think Luke Kuechly is going to be a coach here pretty soon too. Like, if he wants to coach in the NFL, I'm sure there's a spot for him, because that dude, like, just light years ahead. Coaching offense is fun. It's flashy. You get to tell people where to go. But on the offensive side of the ball, there's so much like wiggle room for like doing your own thing. And I think that's part of like what makes it fun and creative, is like receivers can create different releases and stuff like that. But like, when you're teaching technique for a cornerback, this is your technique. Do it. It has to be taught a certain way. So I think I'd lean defensive.
Yeah,
one of my favorite coaches is a defensive head coach. So
I think for me, I've just been spoiled by watching the defenses up here, so I'm gonna lean defense. I really enjoy watching defense. I think true NFL and true football fans love defense more than the NFL thinks we love defense. Because all the rules and everything you hear is that fans just want high scoring and offense and whatever. But a good defense, a good shutdown defense that can stop your team from scoring, is just as exciting as a high flying offense, I think.
Yeah.
I'll give you guys something to think about here.
Okay.
I'm not going offense or defense.
Say it.
Yeah.
Say it.
I want an open-minded head coach. And you know what? A guy that has to deal with a lot of variables throughout the year, roster changes up and down. This guy's active. This guy's not. He's hurt. Special teams coaches.
Let's go.
Now, just think about this. John Harbaugh was a special teams coach for a very long time. And do you see the level of consistency he has provided over there? Because they spend the time with the whole team.
Yeah.
When they address in the meetings, there's all offensive, defensive players. There's everybody in there. Yeah. And so they have the command and respect, and they're used to doing it, right? But then take it a step further. Rich Bisaccia and the Raiders. And no one gives this man enough credit. With everything that they went through, losing the coach, losing a couple players, to some horrible, situations, but keeping them in position to get to the playoffs was absolutely insane to me. And how you let that guy out of the building, or don't give him just an opportunity, a 1 year. Hey, you know what? Now we're going to give you a full year, because thank you for what you did, but a full year to at least, let's see, with proper preparation and time and, more input, what you can do, because it was unbelievable what that guy did. And I really feel like he deserves a chance. And I think he will get one to be a head coach. But yeah, special teams is something I think a lot of people are overlooking in terms of candidates.
Lofa, well, you just gained so many points.
Special teams.
You just gained so many points.
Special teams is a big storyline, though. The new kickoff, I bring that up trepidatiously. Lofa hates it, but Patrick, what are your thoughts on it as a special teams coach?
Lofa, let's have a conversation.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, I think that the new kickoff rule is kind of cool. And here's why. Okay. Because it allows the special teams coaches to get creative. We're treating it as a run play, right? Like, we can treat it as duo. We can have guys like there's so many possibilities, right? There's so many opportunities for like reverses, trick plays, all kinds of stuff. I think that it's going to be really cool. again, cautiously optimistic, but I think the injury aspect of it for players specifically, I think that's the biggest benefit. I know guys love running downfield and just running through a dude's face. I'm a big fan of it myself. But at the end of the day, these dudes also, they want to play. They got to stay healthy. A lot of injuries happened on special teams, and a lot of those dudes weren't even close to the play. So it's one of those situations where, it might stink because we're traditionalists and I love a good kickoff and I love good kickoff blocking assignments. Honestly, if we're going to do it, bring back the wedge blocks.
Right.
Bring them back.
Right.
Like, do it. But I think the new rule gives some opportunity to special teams coaches so that they can open up the playbook a little bit more. And you can use different guys like a Marvin Mims in those situations, who is really just good with the ball in his hands and create new blocking assignments so that you can open up gaps. I don't know. I think it's going to be fun.
I'm just going to give you some food for thought. I am open-minded. I loved your talk there, but just what I see. Okay. I think about just
so polite
Hall of Fame returners like Devin Hester, right? And his speed and the ability to use it. This kind of takes away that special aspect because you're coming down in one wave now. And the whole thing was, coaches, you had to be mindful and strategic about where you place a guy based on his speed and his ability to get downfield. Otherwise, it creates separation and waves. And now, that's where Devin Hester's beautiful mind and speed utilized, against other teams, like their weakness. So, I'm interested to see how coaches are going to prepare for that. They haven't shown us anything right in the preseason. And then now we're going to see some cross blocks and some creativity like you're talking about. But I'm more worried about what this says for kickers in the future of the game. Yeah. Now, think about this. If we took away the kickoff, basically, why wouldn't I just put a safety with a good leg back there and have a more reliable, tackler, right?
Yeah.
Better athlete, things like that. But then also, okay, now I'm just worried if it goes a step further and they're like, okay, well, if the kicker really only kicks field goals and extra points, wouldn't we rather see Mahomes go for it for 2 or 3? And like now they institute and now they just get rid of kickers. That's what I'm worried about. Right.
And that's valid.
In being a traditionalist.
Yeah. I think that's completely valid. I think there's ways that they could definitely still like improve it, even from that kicking standpoint. Right. If you can make it so that like they made the rule where like if you kick it into the end zone, they take it at what, like the 30 or 35
even.
Yeah. I mean, get a good kicker who can put that ball right in that green zone, right in that sweet spot, or even a guy who can, like golf, just chip it in there.
Yeah.
Right. Make it a little more difficult for the returners. And save. I mean, you bring up some valid points.
Well, it already looks tough enough. One kick got returned out of all of them, but I mean, I think from a timing aspect, if you kick it into the end zone, you're allowing more time for coverage and now waves to happen. And so this is the strategy aspect, Brett and Pat, that I'm just fascinated with, right? How would I go about, implementing something to give us an advantage? But then, okay, no surprise onside. Do the Saints win the Super Bowl if they don't recover that onside?
Yeah.
No, but it was a different game then, right?
I'm not a fan of that one. I like the ability to do onsides.
Oh, the onside kick. Well, that's a whole different thing here.
Well, it's gone.
The other team that it's happening.
Hey, here comes the onside.
Will we see an onside kick get recovered this season?
No.
Yes. Absolutely.
Oh, one,
Ben.
You said A. That's one. Right?
Oh,
I'm just saying. Okay, I'm gonna write you down for one.
Defensive guy.
Optimist mentality.
I love it.
That's the part that bugs me the most is because you gotta as a fan. If the team is going a certain way, the score is a certain way. Your team needs the ball back there at the end. That onside kick. I mean, that was back in the day, that was one of the most exciting plays in sports when it was the sort of traditional one. It was crazy. You try to get the high bounce, everybody's running into each other, or the kick straight ahead. I mean, there was different strategies there.
The McAfee kick.
So that whole thing has completely changed, though. So I don't know how your team gets the ball back if you need it now.
Well, I think kickers have just gotten too creative. Like the low bounce up, big bounce is like that's the one that's got guys on hands team like, oh shit, wait, is it stand down? Is it going up? Like you never know.
Right? Then putting the ball on the ground.
Well, the Seahawks wouldn't have played the Patriots in right. I mean, the Green Bay game.
That
one. So, I mean, NFL history, the onside kick has played a role throughout NFL history in all kinds of big games, but it might be done with for now.
But I think the one thing UFL, XFL, whatever they're calling themselves now, that they got right is going for 2 or 3. Like, how many times are you within a pointer and they're just like, oh, well, even if we go for 2, we still need to get the ball back. Like, okay, we could tie it with a 3-point conversion. Like, that'll keep the asses in the seats. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I'm saying.
As long as they just don't adopt the Canadian, if you kick it, if you miss the field goal, but it goes through the end zone, you get a point.
Oh, no.
This one recently, there was a tie game in Canada. The game ended on a missed field goal.
Oh,
or whatever they call it.
I'd lose my mind. I would lose my mind.
Coach?
Yeah. I'd be so pissed.
That would hurt.
What would you guys think instead of – so you have to tell the team if you're doing an onside kick now, right?
Yeah.
Which it just seems so ridiculous. How about if you want the ball back, you have to convert a 4th and 15. I can't remember which league did this, but we do this in like flag football does this all the time. So if you score, you get the conversion, hey, we want the ball back. Convert a 4th and 15, one play, 15 yards. Would you guys rather do that or do the pronounced onside kick?
Yeah, anything where there's more action. So, I mean, the onside kick that's a
fun play.
It's a fun, tough play. I've been a part of several, and it's just like you count. You're like, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got this guy, and it could be a D tackle with a lot of speed. It's like, all right, well, I just got to go get him before he gets me.
I was going to say, Patrick, I mean, any idea is a good idea when it's in the NFL. It all sounds weird whenever they change a rule, no matter what the rule is. I mean, remember when coaches were challenging pass interferences a few years ago? There's been some strange moments, but as NFL fans, we all roll with them, and it's what makes the league good because they're constantly evolving the game. It's constantly changing. Yes, the Saints Super Bowl would be different now, but it was a different game then, quite literally. It's just it's obviously still football, but it is a different game. The rules change all the time, but I think that's what keeps us hanging on.
Man,
I mean, if they wanted to settle it by just putting the ball at the 50 and let your best guy and our best guy for it, like the XFL used to down for that. I mean, let's have a scrap match at the 50-yard line. You pin the other guy, WWE style. I don't care. Yeah. Like as long as it's entertaining and the best athletes in the world are going at it, I'm watching.
I wish they would invest. They take all this time to adjust rules and change rules and all that stuff. Let's take some time to pay our referees and like make them career refs.
The full time.
Because like I feel like the product would be so much better. Obviously these people are human. They miss call. Like you're gonna miss calls. That's fine. That happens. But you bring up like the challenging PI. Why was that even a thing? Because we had one of the most blatant pass interferences in all time that changed the course of, a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think let's invest way more. They can afford it.
Well, but I give the NFL credit, though, because they actually listen when things like that happen.
Sure.
So something like that happened, everybody's up in arms, and then they try to make adjustments, whether it was the right adjustment or not, whatever. But at least they give it a whirl, And I think also, by the way, as NFL fans or football fans, I think it's funny because there's so many people who want to see things stay the same and stay traditional and never change. However, the NFL is constantly changing, and when you start talking about the changes, then even the oldest heads in the world will start throwing out ideas for their next rule change. And then all of a sudden, every rule changes. And wait a minute, I thought you guys wanted to keep it the same. So,
well, if we're going to change it, as long as it's our ideas.
Bring back the Pro Bowl. Bring back the Pro Bowl for real.
I like that.
In Hawaii after the
season.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. Those games were so fun to watch. I loved watching those games. Like, I looked forward to the Pro Bowl, and now it's just like, okay, I get to watch a glorified flag football game.
What was the conversation like going into those games, Lofa, or just as a player, the mindset? Because that was still in the day where it was tackle football, ? But people aren't going. They're not going Pete
Sean
Rose
Taylor's not hitting punters anymore
in an all-star game, but
my arm was right there, Patrick.
Like, oh, I know. I see you on that highlight.
Yeah, I could have just lost my elbow completely. That was the one time I was happy I was not faster. Right? So, no, it was – I remember even there's a ton of Miami guys there, and Sean didn't care. He's like, hey, I only know how to play one way, and it was brutal. He got after it. And I think someone threw a high pass. And I don't know, might have been Santana Moss or Reggie Wayne. Like, they looked and then they saw Sean and they just moved like last second. The ball was gone, like so far. Like, I don't know who threw it, but they obviously ran back to the huddle and yelled at them, but they looked at Sean. They were like, hey man, what the fuck? And he's like, hey, this is how I play football. And it was just like, wow. Like,
that's how it should
but
be.
like, it was, they were big hits and we were still like getting after it. And I don't know exactly what year that started to change, but it did. It just slowly, but the conversation,
probably because of Sean,
the conversation as we were on the sideline and it's a close game on the floor, it's like, hey man, the winner gets an extra 20 grand, like, I have to pay for all my family that I flew out here. So let's do this. And like, let's go. We're going to go.
Right.
But yeah. So, I mean, hopefully that money's gotten up a little more, but it's just a fun trip. And I think, more so about what I loved was I got to pick the brains of like Ray Lewis, Zach Thomas, all the guys I looked up to, Ed Reed, Sean Taylor, all these guys that they were just a couple years older than me, but I watched them since I was in high school. Yeah. And now I'm there with them and just asking them, how do I get better, in pass coverage? How do I get better, against this look? And just the information that you get out of those. And, a childhood, like the kid in me is just going nuts. Like, holy shit. Like, I'm at a table with Zach Thomas, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, and all Hall of Famers, all of them Hall of Famers. And so, it was just incredible. I'll never forget it.
Yeah. Incredibly. And like, that's an accolade too, that like for that generation, like it was still a big thing. Like all pro has kind of become like, that's the accolade that you want, but like Pro Bowls were still like, if you were a 5 or 8 time Pro Bowler, that is an impressive accolade.
Yeah.
Cause to your point, they, now I think there was one time there was the 7th or 8th alternate went at quarterback.
Yeah, that's
it was like
I think it was Trevor Simeon.
No one wants to play.
And then you look, you're like, wait a minute, like, like those numbers are not Pro Bowl numbers, right? And so and it's happened at a couple other positions too now because the other 2 teams are in the Super Bowl and it's played the week before, right? When there's like seemingly not a lot going on. And so I understand it from a business standpoint why they did it, but it meant a lot more. Back then it was hard to go, like, and so it was just grateful for those moments and that opportunity, man. It was like something I'll never forget.
Yeah,
absolutely, man.
Well, I'm looking forward to this game this weekend, you guys. Patrick, thank you for being here. Thanks for your time, man. I feel like we could sit here and just talk all day long.
All day.
Anytime, man. My schedule is open. You just
Patrick Chiotti from Bleav in Broncos right here on the Bleav Podcast Network. Bleav spelled our way, BLEAV, Lofa. Yeah, man. Before we officially get out of here, though, Patrick, I got to put my man Lofa on the spot here. Lofa, you're working on your background there. There's been a picture over your shoulder the whole time. I mean, just what a stud right there. Of all the jerseys, of anything you could put on your wall.
This
means the world to me that you put me up back there.
My guy. Oh, let me get in the camera. Don't want to get the glare on there. Look at that hair. He still has it too. He's hiding it behind a hat right now.
That is beautiful.
He hasn't even aged.
Not a day.
He signed it. This is my jersey. So
yeah.
This is hilarious. That is hilarious. You guys are awesome.
Of a jersey swap there. Yeah. You guys enjoy the game. Be safe out there at Lumen, and make sure you give the Broncos hell on first, second, and third down, especially when the offense is out there. We break it down at the end of every episode, Patrick. So hands up, hands in the middle. Good episode, everybody. Lofa, you're our captain. Take us through this.
Do you want to do the honors, Pat, as the guest?
Oh,
hey.
All I'm going to ask is after you give the speech, we break it down to Bleav all day. That's all,
Bleav all day.
So, but you could say whatever you want. We won't hold it against you.
Hey, all right. Here we go. Hey, football's back. Okay. We got 32 teams playing this week. Okay. At the end of the day, there's only one, and that's us. All right. So believe in yourselves. Okay. Believe in me. Believe in us. Let's go out there and let's kick some ass. Bleav all day. On me, on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Bleav all day.